via the statement from Sandy Alderson here, are taking the side of the fans, not the side of Baez, Lindor, Pilar. Stroman posting his view that media is always trying to stir controversy, and we won today. That's all that matters. And then he was retweeting posts that say fans are soft and entitled, and it's an example of what's wrong with society. Owner Steve Cohen posting that he wants to focus on the win, too. Today they had a team meeting. Clinton Yates, around the horn to you. How bad is this for the New York Mets? And can any part of you see the players' thumbs down side of this?
I can see the player's thumbs down side of it. That doesn't mean I have to hear it or that I mean I have to buy it. But also, the reason why this is such a Mets thing is because not only are they playing themselves, but they're doing it in particularly lame fashion on top of that. They've been doing this bit for 3 weeks, but nobody knows because they were crash landing out of the daggone playoff race in the NL, and they couldn't have enough good things to anti-celebrate. Why don't you worry about your road record in terms of what the Mets are doing? You're 15 games under 500, than worrying about what the fans who are paying to say. It's just so much stuff that the Mets constantly do. It's embarrassing, yo. What are we doing?
Tim Kalisha?
You know, nobody knew about it because they were never on base. You got to do that first to be able to make the signal. Now, there are certain things you can do, and we've seen it through time. You can get in fight with teammates. You can certainly get in fights with the media. You're probably going to win that battle with a lot of the fans. You can get in a fight with your manager. If you're Billy Martin, you can have the greatest quote of all time about Reggie Jackson and George Steinbrenner and saying one's a born liar, the other's convicted. You can get away with that. But taking on the fans and basically saying boo to the fans, there is no what are you going to win? How are you going to win that fight? The Mets have been a hugely underachieving team, starting with Francisco Lindor, who took a giant contract to go to New York. He knew he wasn't going to Cleveland. Things might be different there if his OPS is below 700. And this is how the players respond. It's just preposterous.
Emily Kaplan.
You know, I ultimately feel for Baez because I agree with his point. Fans sometimes forget that these players are human and they act cruelly. That said, as a professional athlete, you've got to hold yourself to a higher standard, and Baez acted immaturely. Also, dude, read the room. You're on the Mets now. The fans do not care about your opinion when you've been on the team for under a month. It's funny, when you actually watch the line of questioning, you can see the reporter start to giggle like he can't believe Baez is saying this, like, oh my goodness, is going to get blown out of proportion. And it was. If you read the Daily News today, it's Baez to fans, go to hell. Not what he actually said, which is fans need to be better. But that's what happens in Flushing. It's different than Chicago. It's different than the Bronx. And I'll just end you with this. Derek Jeter once was asked about the fans booing him, and he says, if I was a fan, I'd boo me too. That's how you win on and off the field, also by just winning.
The Go to Hell, of course, is a famous New York tabloid headline that they're invoking there. Kevin Blackiston, I'll bring you in here.
Well, I think Lindor and Baez in particular have lost their license to criticize the fans, given that one is batting a career worst 224, and the other one, Baez, was coming in batting about 211. So you have no license to criticize the fans there, and you want to talk about how hard it is to play baseball, and that you're just machines, and that you need them to help you. So are you blaming them for your poor performance? That doesn't seem fair. I will admit, though, that fans. They have the license to boo, and I think that sometimes players have the right to respond to fans who don't like their performance. But when your performance is dislikable, you have nothing to stand on. This is the first time, remember, that we've seen players show their displeasure with fans. I mean, how many of them have shot the bird to someone coming out of a bad game? Both of the Vick brothers did it, right? And what happens? You usually suffer some sort of fine or something like that. It was no need, I don't think, for Alderson to come out with an entire statement about it.
Right, and took the side of the fans, which, I mean, is interesting as well. What's going to shake out of this, Clinton? Discipline for the players, or can they move on past this?
I don't think you discipline the players. To be quite frank, I think there's some guys like, Stroman who are having great years who are actually trying to figure this out. But when you're talking about we're talking about a franchise that had to find Mr. Met for flicking off a fan. There's so many things that come around this actual team that you wonder, what's going on with the leadership? Figure it out. The owner is out here tweeting about guys' plate approaches. Just pay attention to your house in order, and you might have a good baseball team.
And Tim Kalisha.
Yeah, I was going to mention the owner tweeting about him recently and all that stuff. Probably if you're a Met, feels like people are piling on. This still cannot be your answer to that.
But do you agree with Blackistone that you can respond? I mean, fans are allowed to boo. Yes, absolutely. And players are allowed to respond to that. They can say, you're not making me feel good here. You're affecting me. They can say that, right, Tim?
Again, I would just ask, what are you going to win if you get into a fight with the fans? How is that going to end in your favor?
We've been warned. We'll move on.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.